When God speaks directly to his chosen ones, it carries an urgency that cannot be ignored, because his words are never empty, casual, or wasted. They come with intention, direction, and power that shape the course of your destiny. Recognizing this urgency is not just about listening, but about tuning your spirit to the frequency of heaven. Too often, people dismiss divine nudges as coincidences or random thoughts, yet for the chosen, these whispers are the very guidance that protects, uplifts, and ushers them into their calling. God does not waste time delivering messages that are optional. When he says something, it is because there is a shift at hand, a season changing, or an unseen battle that requires your awareness. To ignore such a word is to risk walking blindly when light has already been provided. The urgency of God's word often comes in moments when you least expect it, through scriptures that suddenly come alive, through dreams that stir your spirit, or through a voice within that presses you toward obedience. It feels heavier than ordinary thoughts, carrying a weight that refuses to let you rest until you respond. That is the mark of a divine message meant for the chosen ones. Recognizing this urgency means training yourself to be sensitive, discerning, and spiritually alert. The Lord knows what you do not see, and he sends his word to warn you of danger, to guide you into opportunities, or to prepare your heart for breakthroughs that require faith. Every time he speaks, it is an act of love, but also an act of urgency, because he sees the timing of eternity colliding with your present moment. For the chosen ones, skipping such a message can lead to delays, missed blessings, or unnecessary battles. God may be telling you to step away from someone who secretly wishes you harm, to act quickly on an opportunity that seems small but is the key to your next level, or to strengthen your faith because a storm is near. If ignored, the consequence is not God's rejection but your own vulnerability to what could have been avoided. Recognizing the urgency means you honor God's wisdom above your own understanding, trusting that his voice carries the roadmap you cannot design for yourself. Every direct word from the Lord is timely, precise, and relevant. It might not always make sense in the moment, but for the chosen, obedience reveals the reason later. Urgency from heaven is like a fire alarm. You may not see the flames yet, but the warning is real, and to ignore it is dangerous. This is why chosen ones must treat his messages with reverence, leaning in, listening carefully, and moving quickly when instructed. God's voice is the lifeline of your journey, and recognizing its urgency is what keeps you aligned, protected, and ready for the blessings set apart for you. The purpose behind trials, delays, and hidden blessings is something the chosen ones often wrestle with, because in the moment it rarely feels like purpose. It feels like pain, waiting, or confusion. Yet God's way of shaping his people is never random. Every delay carries divine intention, every trial hides a lesson, and every hidden blessing is being prepared for the right time. When you face trials, it is not to break you but to strengthen your faith, refine your character, and reveal what cannot be seen when everything is easy. Pressure is what brings out endurance, and endurance is what equips you to handle the greater responsibilities that come with being chosen. Without trials, you might lack the depth, humility, and resilience required to carry what God has already set aside for you. He allows them not because he delights in your suffering, but because he knows the weight of your future blessings requires a foundation that cannot be shaken. Delays, too, are part of his design. To human eyes, a delay feels like denial, but in the realm of the Spirit, it is preparation. God never forgets a promise, and when he delays, it is because he is aligning circumstances, preparing people, or maturing you so that you will not mishandle what is given. Many blessings are destroyed not because they were never meant for someone, but because they were received before the heart and mind were ready to steward them. A delay teaches patience, molds your desires, and positions you to receive with wisdom rather than impulse. In the waiting, God is at work behind the scenes, arranging details you cannot yet perceive. What looks like silence is actually his strategy unfolding slowly but perfectly, ensuring that when the blessing arrives, it will last. Hidden blessings are often the most difficult to recognize, because they come disguised as setbacks, rejections, or unanswered prayers. When doors close, when people walk away, or when something you thought was right slips out of your grasp, it is easy to believe you have lost. But for the chosen ones, loss is often protection. God hides blessings in what feels like disappointment because he knows what you cannot yet see. The rejection you experienced may have saved you from future heartbreak. The job you didn't get may have spared you from stagnation. The friendship that ended may have preserved your destiny. Hidden blessings teach trust, because only when time passes do you realize God was shielding you from something that was never meant to carry you forward. When you look back on your journey, you see that the trials gave you strength, the delays gave you wisdom, and the hidden blessings gave you protection. Everything was woven together to fulfill a purpose greater than your immediate understanding. The chosen ones are called to see beyond the surface, to believe that God's hand is in every detail, and to trust that even in pain or waiting, his purpose is alive and working. Embracing obedience and alignment with God's divine timing is one of the most powerful marks of the chosen ones, yet it is also one of the most challenging. Obedience requires surrendering control, laying down your own plans, and trusting that God knows better even when his instructions don't seem logical to human understanding. Alignment with his timing means resisting the urge to rush ahead or lag behind, instead walking in step with the rhythm he has ordained for your life. The chosen ones must learn that delayed obedience is still disobedience, and moving outside of God's timing can cause unnecessary struggle. True obedience flows from love and trust, not fear, and it positions you in the exact place where his blessings and promises are released. When God calls you to obey, it may come as a gentle whisper, a conviction in your heart, or a direct command through his word. At times, it will challenge you to let go of people, habits, or opportunities that seem good but are not God's best. At other times, it will require you to step into uncomfortable territory, to walk by faith when nothing looks certain. The test of obedience is not about convenience but about willingness. Are you ready to trust his wisdom above your own desires? Chosen ones understand that obedience is the pathway to protection, provision, and promotion. Even when the command feels difficult, the fruit of obedience is always life-changing. Alignment with God's timing is equally important, because blessings received outside their appointed season can become burdens. When you force something prematurely, it rarely sustains itself. Just as fruit must ripen before it can nourish, your blessings and breakthroughs must be received when both you and the circumstances are ready. Waiting on God's timing requires faith, patience, and humility. It is an act of trust that says, "Lord, I believe you know the right moment better than I ever could." Sometimes his timing seems slow, but it is always perfect, because he is arranging the unseen, testing your faith, and ensuring that what he has promised will not be stolen or wasted. Obedience and divine timing work hand in hand. You cannot walk in timing without obedience, and you cannot obey fully without submitting to timing. For example, Abraham was promised a son, but when he and Sarah stepped outside of God's timing to create their own solution, it caused generations of conflict. The lesson is clear: obedience without timing creates chaos, and timing without obedience produces stagnation. But when both are embraced, the chosen step into the fullness of God's plan with peace and strength. Embracing obedience and alignment is also a declaration of faith. It shows God that you trust him with not only your future but also your present decisions. It builds intimacy with him, because every act of obedience draws you closer to his heart, and every moment of waiting strengthens your dependence on him. For the chosen, this is not a restriction but a privilege. because it ensures that your path is ordered, your steps are secure, and your blessings arrive exactly when they are meant to. God's direct word is not something to overlook, because it carries the keys to your next season. The Lord has been speaking, guiding, and reminding you that your story is not over. It is only unfolding according to His perfect design. Your obedience, your trust, and your willingness to align with His timing will open doors no man can shut. You are chosen, and that means you are not forgotten, overlooked, or abandoned. Heaven has already marked you for victory, and God Himself is making sure that what He promised will come to pass. Stand firm, remain faithful, and keep your heart open, for the Lord's word will never return empty. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this divine message. It was not by chance that you heard it. It was an appointment set by God. May this word continue to stir your spirit, strengthen your faith, and remind you that you are deeply loved by the one who created you. Stay encouraged, stay obedient, and stay aligned with His voice. Until we meet again, may God's presence go before you, His favor surround you, and His peace fill your heart. Goodbye.